This is episode 17 of Cybernut. I'm joined by Joshua Vergara, and we play a game of Never Have I Ever, Tech Edition. We chat about what we're looking forward to in 2024, including the current state of AI. Enjoy the show. Welcome to Cybernut. My name is Enrique VTee, and I'll be your host. We live in the information age, a time in society where humans can access endless amounts of information in the palms of their hands. The good, the bad, the ugly, and the hilarious. Here at Cybernut, we love tech. We focus on the stories and experiences that the information age has brought us as we hurl through space on a floating rock and pay rent and taxes. Today's guest is one of my favorite people in the tech world. He's a full-time YouTuber with a focus on the latest smartphones, laptops, and lifestyle devices, whatever that means. Welcome to your first Cybernut, Joshua Vergara, also known as JV May I call you JV?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And also, what's going on, everybody? I gotta do that every time. I also gotta look at the camera because we like doing this setup that we have is so normal for podcasts that we all do, but it's also like when you think about it, we're doing all these things by ourselves. We have a camera here. We're looking at the freaking call over here. Yeah, it's nuts. And it's always so funny too, because obviously we're not meant to look into the camera. Like we're not talking to the audience per se, but like it gets a little weird when we do that. But anyway, I also love the fact that I get to use the phrase, "This is my first Cybernut."
Fuck yes! Oh my god!
It's so funny because like we were just talking about it before the show. I'm loving these notes that you sent me. The freaking I remember when you told me the name shift to Cybernut. I was like, bro. How have we not been using that term this whole time? Because you call somebody like a World War II nut, right? Because they're into history or something like that.
Yeah,
like we're cyber nuts technically. And when the right thing happens, we cyber nut, right? Like that's exactly what happens.
And yeah, and there's multiple meanings to the phrase. And cyber is, of course, anything like internet related, and it has that retro vibe.
Yeah, because we don't really use cyber anymore today. Yeah.
Nut because, you know, the first thing you think of is like, oh, okay. And then you're like, oh, okay, it makes sense. And so that's
I'm a nut for cyber. I'm a nut. That's what we have to tell people. That's hilarious. And I love it. It's great. Like, and I'm really happy to like see you first of all, because we haven't seen each other in quite some time, which like, I'm also loving the fact that we're able to talk about basically whatever. I just want to say, we haven't talked in a bit. I'm the worst at messaging, especially lately, like, you know, relationships, you know, all that. But the thing is that I've just been like focusing on life and focusing on just things, you know, like, you know, work is work, but life is what will always be there. So I've just been like, that's what this year has really been. But you know what? I just got a Christmas card from a friend of mine, old friend from way back in even right before high school years. And God bless her. She's one of my favorite people in the world. Shouts out to Lily. I know she may or may not be listening to this episode, but you got to put it in the ether still. That's how podcasting works. But the card was like a very heartfelt message. But then at some point it said, I feel like we've grown apart and I miss talking to you. And I was like, frick, like it's funny because even as connected as we are, it's easy to just forget to say what's up or to like just assume that it's easy for everyone to keep up with, let's say me, because I'm on the internet, for God's sake. But at the same time, it's like actually connecting in a way. And this is like, I'm very grateful for this. I'm Mr. Gratitude, I know, but I'm very grateful for this because this is our chance for me and you to catch up. So this is awesome.
The whole thing about being connected is also like, it's easy to disconnect because there's so many other things going on that it's so easy to just, for things to fall through the cracks that are not really important. And then as you were saying, that your friend felt like you guys drifted apart. I actually told an old friend that once, like not that long ago, but for different reasons. I was like, I feel like we're drifted apart. I don't want to be friends anymore, like straight up. But sometimes you got to do that. Sometimes you got to cut people out of your life because they change, focuses shift, people's priorities change, and they just don't belong in your life anymore. And just like how you can rekindle old friendships, you can also cut old friendships out of your life that are just not serving you. That's totally fine.
That is a very fair point to have. I didn't know you were going to go in that direction. But like sometimes you got to do that, right? And is this going to be your last podcast of the year, or do you got another one after this?
Recording. This is the last recording of the year. Yeah.
Yeah. So we are ending the year with this, and into the new year, everyone's going to talk about like New Year's resolutions and all that stuff. Like New Year, new me. Like, what about New Year, new friends? You know?
Okay.
Because like, think about the groups of people that you usually like hang out with or you're with and you're really close to and whatnot. Chances are you've been hanging out with a lot of the same people over the last, let's say, decade. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. However, you know, the world is a big place. And I've actually been very blessed in this past year, you know, with I'm dating somebody and she has like this wonderful group of friends, and I've actually told them on multiple occasions that like I'm actually really grateful that they have brought me into their group, like so warmly, and they were so nice, you know, to this essential stranger that just kind of came into their lives in 2023. But also I'm also thinking to myself that this is a really cool group of people, and it's great to have yet another new group of friends to have. Because I've got the tech friends, and you are a part of that group. I've got my college friends, my high school friend, I'll say, because I don't really talk to too many people from high school. But now I have like this other group that was fostered by this new relationship that I'm in. And it's lovely to be able to like diversify and to just expand horizons and whatnot. So yeah, if you need to sort of, to anybody that's listening, if you do have people in your life that you need to sort of distance yourself from, have that hard conversation with yourself first and with others, and then figure out maybe there might be some people in your life that you want to have in your lives closer to you and whatnot. This got real existential for but yeah, you put me, I'm tech and T. This is the T, right? Like
And here on Cybernut, we go deep. So
these deep nuts, bro. These deep nuts. My God. Anyway, I'm like, so I have my phone here, constantly looking at the show notes, and I'm like, we have not done anything that this says. This is awesome. Yeah.
So before we continue, let's do a cyber toast.
Oh yes.
So I'm gonna go ahead and pour my unidentified red drink here.
So, not sponsored, so I'll just do this. There you go. It's coming up. Here we go. I'm just giving an alcoholic thumbs up over here, and then
cyber toast. Cheers.
Cyber toast. There we
Cheers.
go. This is a great way to start the weekend. Because for those who don't know, Enrique over here is on the East Coast, where it is probably okay for him at almost 2 p.m. to have a drink. Meanwhile, it's still breakfast time for me on the West Coast.
And that's another thing about cyber. It's so awesome that we can do this in this, like in this time that we're alive. This is something that was impossible just like 15, 20 years ago.
That's absolutely right. Like otherwise we would be on a landline talking, like twirling the cord in our fingers. Like. So what are you doing right now?
Walking around the entire kitchen with a long ass cord instead of getting a cordless phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, how far we've come with all of that. My goodness.
Wow. Yeah.
You're listening to Cybernut. Welcome. This is Never Have I Ever Tech YouTube Edition.
Never done this on a tech podcast, I'll tell you that much.
Basically, I'm just going to go through a list of things that may or may not have happened on a tech trip.
We're not doing the 10 finger thing, right? We're just going through a list.
No, we're just going through a list. This is just the kinds of things that we as people that attend tech events would really go through. So the first one is, never have I ever broken a review phone.
I didn't break it, but it was scarred. I'll use that term. I think this was in Barcelona for MWC, and LG, pour one out for LG. LG, they were showing off LG. They were showing off one of their flex phones, a G phone, but it had the curve, right? And the phone had what they called the self-healing back. So you could have this phone in like a pocket or a purse or something like that. And even if it was like rubbing up on a bunch of stuff, like there was a certain like membrane or some sort of material that was on the back that would like kind of cover it up. So my dumbass is like, oh, I'm doing a great video for this phone. Like I'm having a good time. So I'm going to actually test it to its limits at a briefing. Like this is not a review unit, actually. Oh. This is a briefing phone. Even worse. I go ahead and I just take out my keys. I'm humming. Like no joke. I'm humming while I'm like, and I go scratch right on the back of the phone. And I put a gash in this thing and I'm recording what I'm thinking is like Wolverine healing a wound. Like I'm hoping.
But that's how they sell it to us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping the phone's like doing this weird thing, and I'm sitting there and like 15 seconds go by and I'm like, nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. There's something wrong.
Oh my God.
Did I do this too hard? And I go over to Jaime and Michael Fisher, who at the time were working at Pocket Now. I go over to them and I'm like, guys, what do I do? And they look at me and they're like, what did you do? Like, what the hell is that, Josh? And I was like, it's a self-healing back. I thought it was going to, and they're like superficial ones, not a gash like that. So they tell me like, just give it back to them. I'm sure it'll be okay. Like, it's okay. But when I gave it back to them, I made sure that I was holding it like this so that they didn't see the back. My God, like it was just one of those moments where you take the marketing too seriously.
It's really easy to get carried away with the marketing because when we're in these meetings, they're literally regurgitating their marketing to us, like expecting us to retain it and then kind of like paraphrase it for our audiences, right?
Right.
And so, we kind of get caught in that fantasy of like, that's what it's going to do. And you described it perfectly. You told that perfectly. I was completely immersed in that Wolverine healing a wound fantasy that you gave just now. That was great. One time two times. I have two stories. Mm-hmm. So I was reviewing an HTC phone and it was an all metal back. Oh, I miss metal backs.
HTC, cheers to
unibody phones.
Cheers to HTC.
Cheers to HTC and metal unibody phones.
Talking about dead companies. They're not dead. They just don't really make phones anymore.
Yeah, exactly. They're just dead in relevancy. So I was taking B-roll for a video of this HTC, I think it was HTC 10. I was probably like an hour into taking B-roll. I was outside and I was in the patio. I propped it up like on a patio table, and that bitch just like bloop falls forward and down into like pavers.
Oh no.
But it falls on its back, which is even worse because now I can't take videos of the phone because it has like gouges in the back.
Oh, man.
So I contact work and I'm like, I ruined the phone and I can't take videos, so I don't think we can do this video anymore. And they're just like, well, okay, I guess. They weren't mad about it, but they were just like, well, okay, I guess we'll just move on then, whatever. Like, it is what it is.
Well, thank God for that.
Yeah. Oh my God. Thank God that I had colleagues that were just like, they would never stress about work. Like, they were always like, get it done when you can get it done, but try to get it done. Like, that was kind of the vibe, That was probably the first time. Another time, funny enough, it was also HTC. And this was at a briefing. It was the HTC U11 or 12. I don't remember. It was a glass back phone. I don't remember which one. But they had a briefing at one of the rooftop hotels in New York City. And I stepped outside of the balcony to take videos of it. I did not drop it off the balcony. That would have been a great story, but no, I didn't do that. Man, me and these tables, there's a coffee table outside. I prop it on the coffee table, and the table was wobbling, and I didn't see that it was wobbling. And I guess when I like scoot my tripod over, I like hit the leg of the table, and then the phone falls on its back, and the back shatters from like a 2-foot drop.
Just from like a break fall, like literally like a break fall.
No. But it fell off the table because I had it propped up on the table that was like a 2-foot tall coffee table, and it fell and it shattered, and I was like, "Fuck! I just broke this phone at a briefing. Like this isn't even a review. Like I didn't even get sent this. Like this was at a company event.
Exactly.
And so I was like, shit. so I go up to who was it at the time? PR. It was Jeff Gordon was PR at the time. Mm-hmm. I go up to him and I'm like, hey, make sure no one uses that table outside. It has a wobbly leg. Here's the phone back.
Oh my God.
And he's like, oh, well, you know you got to pay for that now, right? And I was like, what? And he's like, just kidding. He's like, no, I'm just kidding. Don't worry about it. And I was like, okay.
God bless
awesome.
Jeff. He was such a good guy.
He was awesome. He was great. Shout out to Jeff Gordon. Yeah.
Well, we also do this to ourselves. Like, we do these stupid things that only tech creators do, which is stand the phone up. Like, who does that in real life? Like, like you can lean your phone on the side of a thing so that you could watch YouTube and stuff. Like, I get that, but
sure.
I remember when we used to complain that a phone didn't have a flat bottom because we couldn't stand it up for our shots. Like, we do it to ourselves.
That's what's important to us, though. Like, we need to get the shots, you know?
Well, one of my old colleagues, Lon Wen, he was the one who actually, back when we worked together at Android Authority, he used to be the one that, chastised other people to be like, obviously we're trying to show the phones in a really nice way. So standing the phone up, okay, I get it. That's fine. But don't put the phone in places that no one would ever put them in. Like, why is there a shot of the phone in a plant?
Guilty. I've totally done that.
Same. I once did that shot for a video just to piss him off.
Yeah, it's the kinds of shots we had to get, because we had to start getting creative because we were just tired of the same shot on the same table. We had to change it up. But okay, that was the first one. Next one. Never have I ever knocked over someone's equipment at an event.
I've never done that, actually. I've never knocked over a tripod or anything like that, but I've had my shit toppled over.
Did it
was an
break?
accident. No, nothing broke. Well, I mean, I guess you could call the lens hood breaking, the lens hood when I screw back on, but that's okay. That's what the lens hood is for. It's for protection. But yeah, no, it's just my old boss. He swung his back around. He had a big ass backpack on, and he just hit it and it fell. But I have never done that to somebody else. I'm very careful. With my stuff, which kind of flabbergasts me when I see other people with their mangled cameras and the fact that they have to work around problems that their tech has. And I'm like, I've never ever had those problems. That's why I feel like I'm the worst reviewer. Because nothing bad really happens when I use stuff. They're like, well, what about the blah blah blah? And I'm like, that didn't happen to me. I'm the worst reviewer. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I was at, it might have been my first ever press event, and it was at the top. It was another Huawei event. It was for their first ever Windows MateBook. And they had it at the top of the World Trade Center. I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. I knocked over someone's tripod, but it was literally in the middle of the floor. Why? It was left there. His back was turned. I'm not going to include it in the show, but it was his tripod was there. And I guess I was just chatting with someone, and I took one step back, and his tripod went thunk. I think it got dented, but I don't think it stopped working. I think it was fine. It was just it fell. And I was like, oh my God. But I was also in my head, that's not my fault. It was literally in the middle of the mingling area. Why is it just standing there? The demo area is over there. Why is it here? Just leave it over there.
You sound like me at Costco. Why is your cart in the middle of the aisle? Nothing pisses me off more than going to Costco. I love it. I'm actually looking for that Costco hoodie that says Kirkland right here.
Oh,
but, I really want
signature.
That. Yeah. But I hate it when people walk into the aisle and then they leave their cart in the dead center of the freaking aisle where people are trying to walk just so they can go to the side and look at an item they're not going to buy anyway. But yeah.
People have no self-awareness.
Exactly.
You're listening to Cybernut.
Next one. Never have I ever broken an embargo.
I have. I think twice.
Same.
I think twice, and both were absolute accidents.
Really quick, just so I can explain to the listeners what that means. When we as tech reviewers would have an agreement, we have to sign an NDA that we're going to show you A, B, and C ahead of time, and you cannot disclose any information revealed in this meeting until such and such date.
Right.
Basically, to break an embargo just means that you broke that date agreement. But anyway, continue.
Yeah, it would be like earlier, and sometimes these embargoes are kind of ambiguous. Like, then that's the frustrating part where they're like, well, you can say this, this, or this. And then people try to like skirt it a little bit and kind of get a little bit more. But like there are times when that happens, and that's absolutely like on the company to like be clear. Like I would prefer them to just be like, you can't say shit until this day. I would prefer them to just say that rather than be like, yeah, you can like say first impressions, but then your reviews are like 2 weeks later. And I'm like, first impression is technically a review. It's like a 1-day review, but it's not like a long-term review.
You can only talk about the color on this day. You can only talk about that you have it on this day. You only talk about, you can't show software until this day, and then your full review is not until this. Like,
yeah, exactly.
They're doing too much.
We're trying to do 1 video, maybe 2 at the most. Yeah, and they're trying to like make us do more content on their stuff like over time or something like that, which I get it. Like, it's a business and whatnot. But anyway, the embargoes that I broke were mainly because of, so one of them, I'm not going to say who and what, just for safety reasons, but one of them was mainly because communication got crossed. And I think the reason why I didn't get in trouble at all, and no one called me out on it, was because I think on some level they kind of understood that. I didn't have to bring it up to them myself. And of course, I wasn't going to bring it up myself and be like, hey, I put your video out 3 hours early. But literally the emails that I got from this particular company were saying a certain time up until the day before. When I did my Gmail inbox search, I was like, device name embargo. And I would get the search result that like you click it and it sends you to one of the emails, and I just use that time. Sure. And then I put the video out at that time, and then I'm looking on YouTube and I'm like, how come nobody else is putting the video out? Which is like the worst, like shit your pants moment. Like that's when you're so scared that you did something wrong. And I'm a perfectionist. Right. Like, I'm Asian. Like I was brought up this way. And like, so I took the video down, and then I double checked in other places, and then I found the actual like final email that said the proper date. So that was one. And then the other one was I blame YouTube. Now, this was the first big event for one of the first big releases that I did as a solo creator after leaving Android Authority. And I thought I did a great video. I was feeling it. I was inspired. And I uploaded that thing. And this was at a time in YouTube where everything was in that little box in the middle of the web page when you were uploading. So you can see the progress bar and it's uploading. And you go through the pages much like you do now, putting in the description, putting in all of the tags, all that stuff. So while it was uploading, I was just kind of like formulating my ideas, feeling good, feeling myself, all of that. At the very end of those pages is where you actually say, put it live. At the time it was public or private. Those were your 2 choices. And as I'm letting the upload go, I am assuming that YouTube doesn't just publish every video and make them public from the get-go.
Right.
Because that would be dangerous, right?
Sure.
Well, I was wrong, because at the time, YouTube did not think that far ahead. Now they do. Every video is private when you first put it up on YouTube. Now they do.
Yeah.
But back then, it was pushed out live the moment the data was completed, uploaded to the YouTube server, which is ridiculous, the fact that they would do that. As I'm typing out the description, just taking my time, I got plenty of time, before the embargo lifts, all that stuff. I get a text message from one of the main PR people and goes, "Is this you?" And it's my video.
Oh, shit.
And I was like, yeah, but it's private. So I go to the final part of the page and I hit private and I do that. And then that's when I realize, YouTube pushes the fucking video out.
Oh my God.
When you upload it.
Wow.
Like there's no stopgap. You have to get to the end of those pages and hit private.
Yeah.
Before anything else can happen. So I profusely tell them it was an accident. It was an accident. It was an accident. And the reason why this was so bad was because I'll at least give this detail. It was a Chinese release, as most of them are anyway. So, and what sucked was that the video, from the moment it went online, people in China ripped it and posted it on Chinese social media. So this huge reveal that this company wanted for China got ruined
shit.
Which sucks so bad. I was blacklisted for 2 years. Yeah. I was blacklisted for 2 years, but the silver lining to it is no further legal action was taken.
Okay.
Thank God, because they understood at the very least. And I profusely apologized for days. And, I wanted them to know, like, it wasn't even me blaming YouTube. I guess on some level, I should have known that YouTube would do something like that and set it private immediately. But yeah. And this is way back in the day. So this is, thankfully, these are things that don't really have to worry about now.
Yeah. I broke a couple of embargoes, and thankfully they weren't as bad as that. At this point, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna say who it was. It was HTC. Drink again to HTC.
HTC.
I got a review phone and I had an NDA, and I started doing the review. And part of my review process for GSM at the time was uploading benchmark results to a spreadsheet. Well, I uploaded them to the spreadsheet, and I guess one of my colleagues saw the results and decided to make a blog post.
Oh,
with all the benchmark results, which is like, it's a lot of information that you're not supposed to give out when you're under embargo. And so they reach out to me and they're like, why would you guys post this? And then my boss was looped in, and he was like, we're sorry, it was a mistake. Thankfully we didn't get blacklisted, but it was just like, damn. And that was just an oopsie that happened.
Yeah.
Another time it was a minor one. It was like it was a Qualcomm chip. It was like a minor 600 series one. And I had accidentally published like a release post. Like, this is out like a day in advance. I don't remember why or what happened, but I get a message on Telegram from the PR people, or one of the PR guys, and he was like, "Hey, can you like take this down?" And I was like, "Oh shit, my bad." And just go back and hide it. But it was probably up for 3 hours, but it wasn't a major release, so it was not that big a deal. So thankfully I haven't had any major leakage like that in terms of embargoes.
Major leakage.
Major leakage.
The terminology on Cybernut is fantastic.
I'm going to add that to my glossary. Major leakage.
Like what you hear? Subscribe to the show at cybernutpod.com and follow us on socials at cybernutpod. Find links in the show notes. And now let's get back to the show.
Without getting too far into details, there was just a lot of stuff that I was sort of working through this past year. And, I might call it like a year of healing or whatever you want to call it. But,
sure.
As far as work is concerned, like I was saying before, it's always there. And the problem, and I think a lot of us, I'm not too sure like who else of our core group you've had on the show, but they probably would say the same thing. Like, these companies need to calm down, man. I just got a package. I'm not going to say what it is because NDAs and stuff like that. But there were 4 devices in that package. From the same company. And I'm just like, guys, there's only one of me and I can only do one video at a time. And the worst part about it is that company sent that many devices. And then another company does the same exact shit. And there's just so much going on. And it's a lot. And one of the things that I wanted to do in the new year, if we're talking about New Year's stuff, is that I want to get better at saying no to certain things or just budgeting my time in a much better way. I've never been good at budgeting time. I've never been good at saying no. And it's a wonder I haven't had like an ulcer or like it's a wonder I haven't passed out from the stress,
Oh my God.
And I think that I want to address it before something like that happens, obviously, rather than just reacting to it because it happened. So I think I need to make those hard decisions also. I'm just going to make an Apple channel now. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, that would solve some issues, but yeah.
Doesn't that suck that that's like the solution for a lot of stuff for us sometimes?
Yeah, just get an iPhone as a solution that for some tech people. Never have I ever reviewed a really bad piece of tech. And by the way, I'm gonna have to reduce some of these because we're going.
We're going long. Yeah, I was about to say this never have I ever could be a whole episode in and of itself.
It really could.
I don't know. I don't think I would go as far as to say it was really, really bad pieces of tech. Because, again, I'm like the worst reviewer in the world in the sense that nothing really bad happens to me when I review stuff.
Right.
But probably, I don't think I have a piece of tech that I could really say was like just absolutely horrid. I'm very positive in the sense that I can find things that are useful about anything. But I will give you a story.
Sure.
Back at Android Authority, this was before sponsorships and sponsored deals were all like, it's basically the bread and butter of, that's how we make our money in YouTube now. Still a new concept to me back in early days of Android Authority. But there was this company that was making like a phone stand that could also be used as like a pop socket type thing. And it was a piece of hard plastic, which already was like not the best thing because it could break. Sure. But you like adhere it to the back of a phone and then you can like snap it out. And it was like nice. I don't remember the name of it, but I was tasked as the face of the YouTube channel to make the sponsored video. And this was a very foreign concept to me at the time. And I made like a 4-minute video just reviewing this small little pop socket wannabe. And the reason why it was so funny to us at the team, one of the dudes on the team was like, I have never seen Josh look more dead in his eyes. I have never seen him like hate his life more than in that video. Obviously now sponsorships are just like very common for us, right? But yeah, like it wasn't bad, but the company is not around anymore. So that can kind of tell you something about like how good that product was. But I was hating myself because I was like, yeah, this is it. I don't like this at all.
This is pretty bad. Yeah, and it's really hard when there's a product that you need a review and you have to kind of be nice about it because it's like they're paying you and you're just kind of like, okay, let's get through this. Let's just fucking finish this video. Like I don't like sometimes creators, you can kind of tell when they are feeling that because they look like they want it to be over.
Right.
And that's something just from being on camera that you learn is like you learn self-awareness and how you're coming off when you're on camera and when you're editing your own stuff, you see that come out and you're like, oh shit, I need to do this again. Or like, oh shit, maybe I shouldn't look so, maybe I need to like amp it up a little bit in the next video, but.
Which has never been my thing. I've never been about that. Like there's just a natural increase in energy when there's like a camera on me, which like, I don't know. I mean, you've known me for some time now. Like people always tell me I'm the same on camera as I am in real life. But I think what the true way to put it is I'm different when I'm around people than when I'm by myself.
Oh, well, that's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just manage to have that same energy for the most part when I'm by myself in front of a camera. The whole like, it needs more energy. And then I'm like, HTC, like, look at this phone. Like, I hate that stuff. I hate it when people do that. It's the equivalent back then to what we do now, which is that stupid, like, I call it stupid, but it's the way that the world works. Like the whole, like the
oh my god,
the thumbnails.
The thumbnails, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you do it again? Can you do it again?
You have like a. And we need to have like these massive reactions to literally everything.
Yeah.
And that's just the way the world works now because we live in a world where people just read the headline. So we have to make them have an emotional reaction.
We have to clickbait, literally.
Yeah.
Like that's just how it is. Yeah. I think that for me, this for this Never Have I Ever, I remember giving a really bad review for a Lenovo phone. And it was just a terrible phone. Like it was like there was no excuse at all for why this was so bad. And it wasn't. It was bad because the phone wasn't meant to be like for everyone. It was the Lenovo Fab 2 Pro, and it was the first phone. Yeah, it was huge, and it was the first phone to have like the back then AR hardware that had like. Infrared cameras and could detect 3D spaces before like what it is now, which is just like you just uses like the cameras and like proximity and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was like early then. And that tech was working. It worked. It was meant for development, but just as a phone was just horrible. Like, it was just not good. It had a huge battery and somehow had terrible battery life. It was not well optimized. It didn't belong in anybody's pocket, to be honest. Like, it was just not good.
And you could barely fit in most people's pockets, honestly.
That too. Yeah. Yeah. It was at the time when things were still called phablets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which phablet, which means phone tablet. Before phones became pretty much huge tablets, that term went away. Now they're called foldables. Okay, this is a good one. So as somebody who, we're both techies and we both have family who ask us questions about tech. And we're the ones who know, and we're the ones who can recommend, like, oh, maybe you like this because A, B, and C for you. This is never have I ever given a phone recommendation that the person ended up hating.
I can think of maybe one.
Yeah?
I can think of maybe one. So back when I used to do Filipino martial arts consistently, my master, my guru, he would come to me for tech stuff. Like, he has a very nature forward family. He's not big on screens and whatnot. But when it came to like having a good phone for like taking pictures of the dojo and of the school and of the students and of his kids and stuff like that, he did come to me for some recommendations. He was also one of the best hype men ever. Like, I miss him a lot. I recommended to him an LG phone, and this is an early LG phone. We're talking like 2016 LG phones.
Okay. Yeah. So like Optimus or like after like G? Probably G.
Oh, it's like
something.
one of the Gs. It was definitely one of the Gs. Yeah. I think it was probably like a G5 or something like that. Right. And then he, like, a year later asks me for like another recommendation to ask if I had any other spare phones, because I gave him the spare. I had, like, for whatever reason, I don't even know the story behind why, I had like 3 LG G5s that year for some reason, so I just gave him one of them. And he said it was fine. But then the next year he asked me for another recommendation. I think at the time it was like a OnePlus. I don't even remember what OnePlus was that year, but I end up having 2 OnePluses, so I give him one of the OnePluses, and he comes back to me the next week after I come in for class, and he's like, "Oh, the OnePlus is so good!" Like, I'm so happy, because honestly, that other one, like, it was slow, and like he just starts ranting to me about how bad the LG phone was.
But he didn't tell you until after?
He didn't tell me until after, because he just respected me so much, and he was just like. And he was just such a nice guy about it, and he's like, it's fine, it's not like I even really care about technology on that level. But after that, though, every time he comes to me, even now, even though I haven't been to the dojo or seen him in years, he still texts me asking about like what's a good phone right now, and I can tell him at any point, like I can tell him Pixels are good, and he agrees. I could tell him the iPhones if he really needs them, but like every time I could tell him whatever, and he'll always go, "What's this year's OnePlus like?" And like he's like the biggest OnePlus fan now.
Yeah.
because of that experience.
Yeah. So one time I gave a recommendation. My friend Javi, shout out to Javi if he ever listens to this. He is the person who helped me get into yoga. I went to like 24-hour fitness classes, like yoga classes with him like a long time ago. He's a yoga teacher now. I still go to his yoga classes sometimes. So he always had a note 3, note 4, note 5. Note 7 comes around. And if y'all remember, the note 7 was the one that was blowing up, literally. Like igniting and like exploding. And so, it blew up. They recalled it once. And then the replacements came, and then the replacements were blowing up. And then I think they replaced it again. And then that's when those replacements were blowing up, and they were like, "We're done. We're not doing it anymore. It's canceled. Just go home, everybody." Right. So that happened to him. He wanted a Note 7. He had to get it recalled, and they canceled it, so he couldn't get one. He's like, "What do I get?" And I had recommended to him, try a Pixel. And so he gets this Pixel, and he is hating his life. Like, oh my God. He's like, I can't change the themes like I used to. Like, I can't do, like, he was used to TouchWiz. He was used to Samsung's UI, and putting him on like something that was kind of like watered down from that, he was just not having it. He was so upset. So I was like, you know what, Javi, just return the phone, go back and buy the S7 Edge. Because if you remember, the Note 7 replacements that they were giving people was a Note 7 or a S7 Edge at that time. So I was like, just go back and get a 7 Edge and just go back to Samsung because that's what you want. And so now, like, I think a few years later, he asked me for another recommendation. I was like, bitch, do not ask me, go back to Samsung. Do not ask me for a recommendation again.
Exactly. It says a lot because, like, at the time, we were hating TouchWiz because it was too extra.
It was too much. It was too heavy.
Yeah. We have this other person who's trying to use TouchWiz and is like, yeah, I'm into this. Like, this gives me all the customization I need, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, we're like, oh, the 5th time we have to customize TouchWiz. We're so done with this. And then here comes Google, like, here, we're just going to give you, like, stock Android. And that was like, we loved it. Still doing it away. But yeah. By the way, your other one down here that says had multiple defective review units, I think the easiest answer there is Note 7 because they were all blowing up.
Well, I mean, okay, I can recall that part. So I guess quick story time. And you can attest to this too because you had a review unit as well. So we attended, I'm sure you were there. I can't remember, but I attended the Samsung Galaxy Note 7 event, which actually... I can't recall, that may have been my first Samsung event actually ever. Ever. Like my first Samsung event ever. It was my full circle moment because I worked for Samsung at Best Buy. I started working in tech and then I got to go see the launch. I got an email from PR like, hey, we need to pick up the phone because it's recalled. And if you remember, the Note 7 had to be picked up in these like fireproof shipping boxes.
Right. Yep.
And so they sent someone, I think on TaskRabbit, to my apartment to pick up the Note 7 review phone. And I don't remember getting a replacement after that. But anyway, yeah, I had it at my apartment. They came to pick it up. They took it back. That was such a nightmare for Samsung, but they handled it very well. And you know, people stopped making jokes about Samsung phones. Like, it took a couple years, but they kind of, it went away. People forgot about it.
Yeah. I'll always remember getting on a plane not too long after Note 7. And after this whole fiasco was happening, there were people like the flight attendants or whoever was on the intercom in the flights would be like, and if you happen to have a Samsung Galaxy Note 7, we really need you to not have that. So please let us know immediately.
Do you know? Go ahead.
Just the fact that we had... like that the Note 7 all of a sudden permeated worldwide into the zeitgeist of like people talking about, please don't have this phone. Like it's literally a hazard to have it. That was wild. Like, we're talking about a phone here. It did stick around for at least a few years.
Yeah. At the federal FAA level, like that's like, that's wild. But I think we can stop there. Never have I ever. But yeah,
one of these days, man, you should just do a full episode of just Never Have I Ever's. Like,
okay,
just like a bonus episode. Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Yeah,
because some of these other ones, we got enough. I think we're good. We could.
We got enough. And I don't want to talk about. I don't want to talk about when I was hungover at a work event. I don't want.
I mean, I could talk about it real quick. So, this is the first time it's ever happened to me. It was the OnePlus 10T event in New York City for the OnePlus 10T. It was an iterative release. It wasn't even like a major like number release. It was like a half-year release.
Right.
And they hosted us for 3 days. You know, like first day everybody arrived, second day cocktail hour, parties, whatever, and then the last day was the event. And I got pretty saucy on the day before the event. And as one does, as at a work event, I had like 4 gin and tonics, and I was living my life. And then I still had to stay up and do work after those parties.
Oh, it's the worst.
The next day, I was like, fuck, I don't want to be at this freaking event. Oh my God, I was sitting next to you at this event. I don't want to be at this event right now. And then like this event dragged on for 2.5 hours. Mm-hmm. They spent, I think, 10 minutes talking about like the material of a case that they made for it, for like thermal, for like gaming or whatever. I'm trying to like keep my cool, like sitting in the event. And I'm over there like doing like deep breathing, like...
I think I had I vaguely remember this. But the thing is, the memory that I'm thinking of right now may not be this particular event, but I remember one time you were sitting next to me at an event and you were just like not having it. Either you were tired or you were hungover.
It was 100% that. It was 100% that event. Yeah.
Okay. So I remember like walking off for a second and then turning around to look at you at one point, and the look on your face, you're just like, you had the worst look on your face. And it was like, and you told me afterwards that you were like hungover, but like, I was just like, man, he hates this. He hates being here, right?
Oh my God. I was feeling so terrible. And I'm not a regular drinker. I only drank at work events. Yeah. But I went a little too far. I had a really good time though at the night before. I had a really good time, just not at the event. As soon as the event ended, I went outside. I needed to go outside, get some fresh air. I needed to just like contemplate my life. Like, oh my God, like what am I doing here right now? Like I should have just stayed at the hotel. Nobody would have noticed. No one's taking attendance at these events. Like
true.
You know.
True.
To be fair, all the coverage was done. And thankfully I had a team overseas in Europe who had the device and had done everything. So I just really needed to be there and show face, which was
right.
It was a big help, you know. But yeah, that was I think the only time I was ever hungover at a launch event.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Let's take a quick break. We did touch up on this a little bit a little while ago, but we are recording this really close to the end of the year. So what is something that you're looking forward to in 2024?
Something in 2024, this is something that has come up very, very recently for me because it's really easy for us to just scoff at it. The buzzword of AI that we're just probably all sick of hearing now. I am just looking forward to actually seeing some company actually make it make sense. Because it does make sense. Like probably the only company that's doing it right now is Google with all of the features on like the Pixels and whatnot, which I get that. But it's still like siloed to that phone. It's still just very specific to things you can do on a phone. And now we have laptops that are starting to have AI in them. We're starting to have AI become part of like way more things. Like it might even start to become a freaking word that we say when we talk about TVs. And I'm sure it has already. But I'm just waiting for when we crest over that hump of like AI is something we know is going to be useful one day. When are we actually going to use it? Because no one does.
I feel like, I don't know if you remember, maybe 2016, 17, 18. I don't remember exactly which year, but all the companies were talking about machine learning.
Yes.
Isn't AI the new machine learning? I guess
it kind of is, but that's what machine learning kind of is, right? Like, but there were like so many. I guess the way I'm trying to word this is that so many of these things are like background. There are things that make our lives better without us actually feeling it, and that's what machine learning was. And now they're trying to make AI like, you're right, like machine learning, but they're trying to like put it in the forefront, like buy this because it can do AI stuff, and it's like, but I don't use that. Like I don't need that. Like there's no reason for me to have that, you know? And on a phone, there are reasons to have it. But again, it's stuff that we don't really think about. We don't talk about it. And it's very background. Machine learning, I have a great example of that, actually.
Sure.
Do you remember the Zunes, the Microsoft Zunes? The Zunes were actually, before the iPod like turned into the mammoth that it is or was, the Zunes actually used machine learning locally on the devices to know how frequently you listened to certain songs. So that when you hit shuffle on your Zune, the songs that you listened to the most were weighted higher than everything else. So you would hear more of your actual songs that you like in a shuffle more often. So like that's one of the earliest examples of machine learning that I remember. And I was like, man, that's really cool because now we turn on like freaking shuffle on Spotify and I'm hearing something I've never heard before. I'm like, I don't want that. Like I can't even begin to tell how many times I'm driving in my car and I have Spotify on and I use that DJ function now, which I think is pretty cool actually. There's an example of what AI can do.
I do like the DJ on Spotify. Yeah.
Yeah, they took this dude's voice, they AI'd it into like a thing that could read every word or syllable or letter in the world, to the point where it can actually tell me it's about to play this like deep cut K-pop song, so like, which is pretty wild.
Yeah.
But the DJ comes over and is like, I'm gonna go ahead and throw some stuff at you that you haven't listened to in a while, and then I can't even begin to tell you how many times I've looked at my infotainment screen in my car and I'm like, I've never heard of this person before. This is not helping me. This is not the drive I wanted. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. Familiarity is something that I think I prefer, even when I ask for a little bit of something new in a shuffle. I think in 2024, just to finish the question off, I think in 2024, I just want to see where this AI thing goes. Like, I really want to see it. There are some examples of it that seem all right. Like, even right now, if I used AI on like a laptop webcam, I could like AI out the background and make it look like a beach, but that's not revolutionary. I need AI to seem revolutionary now.
I need AI to do math. I need AI to do my taxes, change my oil. You know,
and by the way, ChatGPT, it's not there yet. Like, it'll get there, I'm sure, but it's not there yet. I tried using it to write scripts for videos, and I was like, I would not be caught dead saying these things on camera. I just would not. It's not how I sound. It's not me. I can't feed AI my consciousness yet to where it can actually mimic how I am. Like, I can't do that. Not that I would want to. I'm just saying it. I feel like it can't do that yet. This is the worst that AI is ever going to be in the future, because this is right now, we are still, every single day we are at the bottom of a mountain and we're constantly climbing and climbing and climbing and climbing. That's true for literally everything. Sure, there's regressions that can be made, but it's still better than it was that first day you think of it. So I think AI is just going to keep getting better, and I just need someone to like take those capabilities and put it into something that actually makes me think I gotta have that, because nothing makes me feel that way.
This is the end of this episode, but don't worry. Joshua and I are having a whole other hour coming next week. We'll look at some funny news headlines and reminisce on the first time we met. After that, we'll dive into what it really means to be a tech YouTuber. Subscribe to Cybernut on your favorite podcast app, or visit us at cybernutpod.com. Until next time, this has been Cybernut.